Good day, everybody, and we are back here with a conversation and a talk with William WhiteCrow. And today we were kind of chatting, and we thought it'd be great to have a conversation on perception.
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 That can take us on many different levels.
That can take us on many levels.
Many different realities. Really. I mean, you think about, one aspect as your perception. If you're looking at something, the only thing that exists is what you're looking at the time. You know what I mean? That's one way some people look at things, Nothing exists unless you are observing it, So the question is also, how do you know what you're going to observe, actually? And then does this mean that everything is predestined, preset? You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
If everything is just only when you observe it, what are you observing? Just what you're thinking? Are you or are you capable during that time to perceive the many different realities, dimensional realities and timeline realities that there are? When people want to talk about perception, as I say, we really need to take in the whole picture, and that also includes our perception of time. Where we at? What is reality? Mm-hmm. I practice meditations and many other things with other shamans, and when I was young growing up and everything, and still even to this day, we share different things. People with different belief systems, because it's wisdom. It isn't a particular belief system's way. It is a wisdom that is in all of them. We just, people like to put a label on it and say it's ours. Mm-hmm. Well, we can't do that. My perception of the world is really different than everybody else's. When I look out into the woods and the forest, not only do I see the tree and the bark and everything of this nature, but I can literally, it's like turning a switch in your mind, and you see that inner workings of those trees. You still see the bark and everything, but you actually literally in your mind can see the everything that's working inside there, the veins, if you wish to call them that, the capillary action, how the water and fertilizers, and I look at the ground and see the root systems. It just, you have to train your mind to be able to see at different levels. Mm-hmm. So really, when you're talking about the observer, what level is the observer on in his understanding of what level of perception he is on?
Right.
If you're
and that encompasses a whole lot of things. I mean, look at blind people. They perceive things way different.
That's why I like to talk to blind people, and I say, what do you hear? If they, like me, I do that, and everybody looks at me like, uh-oh, he's tilting his head, and all of a sudden I'm, move my head back and forth. My hearing perception is pretty good, especially for distance and understanding the sounds and what they are, even down to different aircraft, helicopter types, everything, because of my experiences in life, So if you've had a lot of experiences, your perception, if you're blind, you're going to be able to tell a lot of things around you. Now, your movement around when you have your cane, or some people chirp, have a little chirp or sound they make, and they travel around riding bikes like bats, and they're blind. Mm-hmm. We've seen the documentaries on them and stuff. So that's another level, even at blind.
And people like Helen Keller that are blind and deaf. Their perception of things would be completely different. They'd have to go through life more of a
their
in a
perception
spiritual...
of this world would be way. How would they even understand spiritual?
How would they? Yeah.
What we have in this existence and everything is pretty much what we've been taught. And then when we get to a certain point of understanding and knowledge, then we kind of perceive things different, because we got knowledge that we've been given, then we got knowledge that we've studied and understand to be true to our experiences in life. That creates this third thing, and that's our perception of what that reality is and how we react to it at that point.
And time would be just really weird.
Time travel is a real
like
thing. I've studied with a lot of people, and I believe that, you know, if you believe in time, you have to believe in teleportation, because basically you're just being teleported in time from point A to point B, wherever that end time period may be, past or future. So really teleportation in time is simultaneous. You know, it's I don't know, and it's not the word oxymoron. There's a word for it I just can't find. It's not coming to me right now. But yeah, time travel is a real thing. They're out there doing it already. We know that for a fact. Mm-hmm. You know, too many secret programs, too many people coming out talking about it. Lost times. The events leading up to time travel events really don't vary much from individual to individual that's came out and talked about it. You know, and they come from totally different lifestyles and everything, but usually their life goes through a lot of, if you want to call them traumatic events or changes in their life, understanding that there's more than one reality at a very young age. You know, so I can see how that would create some psychological, you know, problems when you've lived so many years in one timeline, shall we say, right, doing things, jumping to the future or the past, and then coming back to this one. Because when you jump, you can be gone what seems here 5-10 minutes, mm-hmm, and you've been gone years there, or months. Right. So when you come back, your mind is still going to be in this other reality, this other timeline, and you're going to be expecting these events that are happening, the other ones that happen in this one. So there's a getting used to it time. Hence coming back from a war situation or whatever, mm-hmm, which they call now PTSD. It's been named many things in the past, you know, shell shock, all kinds of stuff, you know, World War II, and things of that nature. But the fact of the matter is, there's an adjustment period, you know, and that's how come they, when they start, we can even go into the alien and my lab aspects of this too, you know, and because they're the ones, you know, the breakaway civilization secret space program, they're the ones using this type of stuff. This technology, it's not known to, it is known to the normal society, but not in the aspect of use. You know, those technologies are kept very tight, buried, put away, you know, and even the sciences and things that are going on today, the physicists and the mainstream are not privy to what's going on in these black ops programs.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
You know, that's a whole other reality because of their ability to reverse engineer and the many secret projects they have in acquiring new technology and taking scientists that are a little radical, you know, and off mainstream and saying, wait a minute here, you've got some ideas we're interested in and we'll fund you, but there's certain rules and regulations here, and if they have unlimited resources offered to them and a good life, sure, they're going to do it, and that's what's happening. And that's why DARPA, they take the projects everybody says can't do, because some of these types of people work for them as well. You know, tell me I can't do it, I can. You know, there's the space program, it's very obvious that we have many more things going on out there. You know, video of 1962, a landing on Mars, many people that have been there, you know. What people think is a vision really happened to be a cover for a reality, you know, because of an abduction experience or working within those secret programs, limited access programs.
Some people say that some abductions are actually
my lab, military.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, you know, Earth abductions.
This is going back to perception. You know, what is your perception of reality? Yeah. An average person out there doing comedy shows or news media and the mainstream out there really have not done the research, and they're really ignorant to the fact of what's really going on out there. They have their researchers and they'll dig and they can only put out what's accepted. Sure. You know, or you know, politicians and this and that start screwing with them, or you know, other agencies, you know, things start happening, and that's okay. That's okay. That's why you have other media sources, you know, and people out there that, you know, most people out there do know that, you know, and suspect that there is definitely secret space programs. Definitely, you know, we are on Mars doing other things. But, you know, anytime you're going to do something, let's say go to Mars like they're talking about now, 2018, you know, Elon Musk and the government as well, you know, NASA, is because they already know the facts. There's an infrastructure there. They would not waste their time and do all this stuff unless the studies and everything has already been taken care of and they've already been there and know what to expect. And also the information on Mars over the last 25 years, it's changed so dramatically, it's unbelievable. It used to be the red planet with this rusty atmosphere. Now we know that Mars has a baby blue atmosphere. It has water vapor clouds. It has methane. Methane comes from what? Living organisms. You know, there's all kinds of NASA video evidence and still, you know, picture evidence of, you know, ancient civilization technology there from building structures. But these are demolished or damaged and stuff. There's some stuff with looks like engines. It looks like literal weaponry or robotics, or there's a thigh bone. You've seen it yourself in the videos from the Mars rovers themselves. Curiosity looks just like a thigh bone of a human. You know, and other things laying. There's gears. There's just, if you look at the stuff, and they've been trying to get rid of a lot of that. Right. You know what they call, what do they kind of smear it where you can't tell what it is. Over or you know, and everything. But it's there. You know, we know it's there. Now they've proven water's there. We've seen the pictures of it flowing, you know, pooled, everything else. Other aspects, trees, things like that. And those that have come back from Mars know that they have known a long time. They've never came out and said that it's what they've seen because, well, you know, the art of secrecy and everything. You can't disappear in this and that unless you become very public. Right. And even if you become very public, that can happen too. But I think what's happening now, those of us that are coming out and talking about it and everything, these different programs and everything and participation in them, a lot of people are coming out now saying, hey, and they're realizing we can't stop them all now.
Right.
You know, some of these people are very, very verifiable. You know, they have lived a life of not saying anything until now, you know, and it's because memories are coming to be. And plus, some of the memories they have were never covered. It was just, you know, not to say anything until a certain time, you know, when that technology is available to the public. Well, it is available to the public, but they're not going to get it, you know, that's the fact. And even when we end up on Mars, that breakaway society in the secret space program is going to still be operating there among us, just as they are right now on Earth, and they're going to go further to other worlds, as they already are. You know, just like the information that there's genetic arcs out there, and they're already heading to other worlds with crews. Look at how many people disappear out there every year.
Oh, I know. Huh?
And most of them aren't even counted. You know, state parks, everything like this. We don't know where they're going. You know, but I know for a fact they can walk in on you, grab you, and you're gone, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're here, accept it. This is a program, blam blam. Where others are offered to join the program. Because of, well, facts are, if you know what's going to happen to a planet within a relatively short period of time, time-wise, you know, 150, 200-year timeline, and your genetics and you and your family and timeline can be continued on, even though that world may cease to exist as they know it for humans, you know, and life as we know it, well, they're going to take that. I would, in a heartbeat. But then again, there are those that have been in the programs, and you know what's going to happen. But you know what? You believe in humanity. You believe that we can work our way out of this type of crap that we're in right now, and the political lying and hiding of technologies and everything. The technologies that we know that this breakaway civilization and the secret space program, you know, the craft, you know, inner world, interstellar craft, intersystem craft, whatever you want to call them, the activity around the sun and everything. What is your perception? Now we jump right back to that now, you know. So it really depends on what you know and what your perception is.
I think there's a lot more people that believe that than don't, actually.
I think that there's a lot of people on the verge of believing more than they do. I think a lot of people believe that, you know, teleportation, time travel, sure, you know, a lot of people know this, or feel. They've never experienced it. Maybe they have to a point in their life, you know, by seeing things like me with the person that never aged. How can that be unless an individual is internal or he jumps from time back and forth in time from their time period, you know? So, you know, you're Preception spiritually. Let's talk about that spiritually on that aspect, because you're talking about an energy level. And we're talking on the other aspect, we're talking a technological level, a reality level of coming to the concept of understanding there's planet builders. You know, they terraform planets, they create species. Look at every mass extinction that's ever taken place on this planet, and then you turn around and look at the next species that comes back. It's a total different biome, a total different species and everything. And they, you know, of course, try to say dinosaurs and man were not there at the same time. Well, according to, you know, geologic evidence, you know, fossils and things of this nature, yeah, you know, we did. You know, there's a history that we've been taught to believe that is really wrong, you know, but they'll keep teaching it in the schools and stuff like that until, you know, maybe another century or two. You know, but we don't have but a century and a half maybe left, maybe two, as far as the environment on this world goes. You know, and that's what a lot of us understand now. That's why most of us, when we come back and in these programs, become something spiritual. We want to make a difference in the world. We want to see people make a difference in themselves. And so the technologies and everything can be developed to, some things we're not going to stop, but we can make some more technologies that are beneficial, that aren't harmful to our environment, you know, and stuff, that can make life a lot better for us when those hard times come, including getting off this globe. We're going to have to. And see, that's where the breakaway civilization and secret space program, which are, you know, kind of the same, you know what I mean? They're way ahead of the game. Because if we don't, in our society now, in this timeline, our technologies develop the sciences that we can right now, they're not going to hand the sciences that they have down to us right now. It isn't going to happen. Mankind, actually, if we had some of those technologies, we would destroy one another a lot sooner than Mother Nature can.
Right.
You know, so we have to be very cautious.
We've been on the verge of that for a while.
We are, and as they say, the doomsday clock is ticking closer. But I see, you know, understanding, a lot of people say, is the glass half full or half empty? And then you have those that say, well, it's neither, the glass is refillable. Well, the glass is never refillable, an enclosed system. And that's what our planet is. It's an enclosed system. We have a finite amount of material within that enclosed system until we learn to leave that enclosed system and go get the materials we need off-world. They know how to do that. This other civilization, this breakaway civilization, society, and everything, and they have the capability of doing that, and they can do it with very few people because they have the technology. But when you think of the consumption of one individual, and then multiply that times 7 point, let's say 2 or 4 billion people right now, of your average city person, what they consume, and that includes trash, you know, waste, everything, and then the waste and everything to make those products, and what fuel it takes to do that, just for that one product for that one person. Think of how much resources you're really using, and how much you're contributing to actually a warming effect of the planet, CO2 output. We know that the ozone is only 7%, so it makes sense that there's a breakaway space program, because these people that are reversing these other technologies and everything from off-world, you know, beings and everything, they know what's coming. They've already seen it. Jumped forward in time, took a look. I know, scientific jumps. They've already been there, already seen things. That's why they had alternative 1, 2, and 3, and we're already in 3. You know, there is an alternative 4. Everybody working together, putting these technologies together, you know, with these breakaways, you know, this off-world civilization, it would still live among us. They're humans and everything, but they're more higher bred. They deal with genetics, everything else a lot more than we do now. But I'm going to tell you, if they can clone a sheep and they can genetically take genetics from a starfish and put it in a rabbit or mice, and those things will glow, they can sure in the hell easily clone a human being and genetically alter them, or enhance them, as I like to say, to deal with off-world environments and different things of that, and future on-world environments here.
Right.
You know, like us, with higher temperatures don't bother us. You get to 110, 115, 100, I don't have a problem. It's the lower temperatures that bother me, you know. And there is a nice sweet zone in between hot and cool, you know, cold also that we like. But when you get in, you know, to the plus 9 on up, not much of a problem. You know, you experience that yourself. You know, so
I prefer the warmer weather.
Yeah, there's a different, and we have to understand that if we've been genetically dealt with, you know, you read the first part of the scriptures, and I always go back to that. That's a terraforming operation, right down to the creation of man. You're talking when you know the rib of Adam to make Eve and everything, and making man, you know, after our image. We're talking straight up freaking genetics here and cloning, cloning to a point, you know. And then you have the Anunnakis aspect, and you know, story of what happened there. But it's kind of funny. Everybody's tried to destroy man after they created him. You know, think about that. You know, we got out of hand. I think we're at that point again right now.
Yeah, and how many times? Boy, there's been a bunch of times.
You know, if you go back and you look at some of the evidence of artifacts found in granite and in volcanoes and tracks, and they date back to 400 million years, some a little longer. You know, this 12 to 24,000 year crap is out the window. 30,000 year stuff is out the window. You know, there's just so much going on out there right now. It's just funny, we start talking about perceptions and we start going deeper, you know. Yogananda, let's look at go back to jump on the spiritual aspect. Yogananda's teacher said, I'm going to leave you now, and he left on stage in front of thousands of people. You know, there are people that knows how long they have here. Nobody knows how many heartbeats they got, and that's one thing most people don't think about. You know, and our media and our governments and our religions have kept us in a loop. This is how life is. This is our reality. It is a matrices. This is how you believe. And they put much of religions out there, and all those religions still to this day fight one another. Plan chaos at its best, you know. And the governments are set there to control certain areas and resources that don't believe as one another do either. So there is a little chaos whipped in there too. Then because of the freedom of religion in many countries, you have a lot of people with all these different religions living together, and all of a sudden events, economic events or wars or something take place to start pressuring in the race thing too. You know, so these elite that run this world, and with a negative aspect, shall we say, of our ET friends out there, create the chaos for control. Everything that's happening out there right now is created to keep you diverted into what's going on that media and everything else, instead of stopping, educating yourself, and advancing ourselves. And by doing that, we advance a species into the next level of understanding and technology and everything else. So, you know, we really have to stop and look at what's going on out there. You know, even the political agenda, it's all a farce, all bullshit, all smoke and mirrors.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I have very little faith in any political system.
But the fact of the matter, the secret space program, off-world civilization or breakaway civilization, is very true. And if we don't make some changes and start doing things as a species, not as Muslims, not as Christians, not as whites, not as blacks, not as that, but as a species, we're going to fall right into this hole that they're creating for us. They'll be living, they'll have all the resources they need. They don't even need the money. They got the technology now to do things. Screw the money. You're one of our drones. This is what you do. You know, you get food, you get a pat on the back and a good boy, you know. And here's some gummy bears for you. You know what I mean? Me, I like good and plenty, so they got to pay me big time, good and plenty, really. You know. But I don't follow that program. That's why I'm not doing that anymore. Plus, you get to an age where you realize what's happening, you have to step away. You know, and that reality is your perception of all these other little perceptions you had up to a point, and those perceptions change as you grow. You know, spiritual people grow, and it's great we have spiritual people. I'm highly spiritual. But like I say, I'm a highly spiritual being, but I live here too, and I understand the reality, the physical reality of what's going on. the control and everything, until everybody gets up to that shamanic level of understanding. And a lot of the radio show hosts and people we know, great people, and they're highly advanced, but most everybody else isn't. And when you go,
the average,
when you go preaching and talking to people about it, and you're not preaching, you're trying to pass a message. Usually, you're talking to the choir, preaching to the choir, singing to the choir. People that already know this, but always there's one or two out there, or maybe 10 in the choir, that haven't heard what you're saying, and it makes them question. I need to look into this, and that's the grassroots movement that's happening out there now on the reality of perceptions. If you're a spiritual person, highly advanced, this world doesn't bother you because you're not really a part of it anymore. If you're part of this breakaway civilization, you actually look at this aspect of mankind right now as, you know, you're part of something different. These aren't part of your program, and you have to understand that. And that's why the elite, and we had a way high up there person one time say, you know, the time for the great culling is at hand. And this is where we're going to get rid of the useless eaters. And that was somebody in the up in the presidency circle, and you know, we know that it was a female, and that's all I can say about that. You know, but the fact is, do your own
figure
research.
it out on your own.
Yeah, you're on your own research in that there, but you should research the aspect, and always know before these elite people are going to do anything. And they are in league with beings that are not beneficial to humanity, to mankind. They're into control. They're into. Notice how the church all of a sudden has changed.
Oh, yes. The Catholic Church.
Yeah, there's ETs. We can baptize them. You know, all this other type of stuff, which we knew long ago. But that religion had to change, or it was going to die. All religions are changing out there now to the more metaphysical realm, you know, and it really doesn't have shit to do with
which is interesting,
the metaphysical realm. It has to do with reality, what's really going on.
I realize that a local church that has a school, has a college, whatever, is now going to be teaching. What
do they call it?
Like metaphysical religion or something.
Yeah,
something to that effect.
It's that evolution of understanding, and
interesting.
That's that perception we're talking about. You know, they perceive. Oh, the church is really talking about. We understand what the church is saying, but we perceive by reading these scriptures and everything other things, because our education and our technology is now, and we've evolved as beings to a higher point. We can look at the scriptures and see the technology behind the events that occurred in the scriptures, and the events in the scriptures that took place.
Right.
You know, so that's what's happening right now, and that's going to continue to happen as long as mankind continues on. You know, one day the average individual will go out there, instead of jumping a cab, will go down to the closest quote unquote bus teleportation station, whatever, and there won't be no more buses. There won't be any more aircraft. It'll all be teleportation from one continent to another, from one city to another, and then you take local transportation, non-polluting transportation, you know, so you can try to save what's left of your planet, because we've wisened up a little bit, hopefully by then, you know, and you go to wherever you need within that city, because you'll be able to step into something, kind of like on that movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger went to Johnny Cab, and
Total Recall.
Total Recall.
The original Total Recall.
Yeah, the original Total Recall. Jump into Johnny Cab and say, take me to 155, you know, Placer Street, you know, and it takes you there, and it deducts so much from your.
Well, that's kind of like what these automatic self-driving cars that they've come out with now, or they're working on. That's what they're trying to have.
Well, sure. As a matter of fact, I just read something that self-programmed car, I think it was a Tesla or something, I'm not sure which one it was. Literally, the automatic driving of it saved his life, because it took him to the hospital. He told him, take me to the closest hospital, and the darn thing did. I was amazed at that.
Oh, because it has a built-in GPS and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I don't know. I haven't studied the car. I don't understand exactly what it does. So our perception depends on what we know, what our understanding is. And we've covered you know, it's been, what, 30 minutes or so. And we can go to 45, you know, and then I'll need to take a break and get a sandwich and something to drink. you know, but it's a nice Saturday. It's a good topic, you know. And I've been, you know, a lot of people hit me with that about, you know, what is this or that, you know. Our perception of reality really depends on what we know, our experiences, our research, what we've done. Most people don't go out there and do research anymore. You know, they're placid and they're happy with their jobs and everything, and they don't like to, you know, they get in that comfort zone, as we've talked about many times. And there are those of us that like to step beyond that comfort zone and stretch our minds a little more and understand a little more, educate ourselves a little more, and fields that we hadn't studied before, but we'd like to.
Going beyond the comfort zone in some cases is the comfort zone.
Is the comfort zone. That's true. And that's very true for a lot of us. You know, we want to know. We want to know the truth. And the truths that we know that have been hid for a lot of times, we want to tell people. We just never knew how to do it. You know, but then all of a sudden there's opportunities for that to happen. And you either take that opportunity or sit there for the rest of your life holding in things that really shouldn't be held in.
I think there's always, I think humans have always had, you know, a lot of those basic questions.
Sure,
as far as time itself,
yeah,
maybe not, but I know some have. I mean, you know, look at the time machine and stuff like that was written, you know, like 100 years ago or whatever. So I mean, the thought for some of that has been there, but
man has always looked at the stars and had a yearning for, if you want to call it, quote unquote, home. You know, ET phone home thing. You know, I look out there and say, you can come and get me anytime. You know what I mean? But we have to understand that there's good and bad to everything. You know, and if you want to talk about the use of time travel and teleportation, it has been used for negative purposes as well as positive purposes, as well as the visitors from other worlds out there coming to this world right now. And there are bad and good in them too. There are good and bad coalitions within them, as well as on Earth here with humans. You know, so it is what it is, and you'll never get away from that fact. There's things going out there, beings that can be very beneficial to us. We have to get to our level of understanding what's going on for them really to do something as a mass. You know, a few have contact on a regular basis. We know what's going on and had, you know, and over their lives have had. So they really know what's going on in that arena, in that realm, and where the Earth is heading, and society and our species is heading, and where it could go. Like in the Hopi, you know, legends, they talk about, man, there's two directions it's going to go. Some are going to go this way, some are going to go this way. And those that go this way, it's going to be beneficial. Those that are going to continue following one way, you know, greed and everything else is going to destroy them. That's why we have to turn around and understand and learn how to work together as a species and throw freaking color and race and everything out the window, you know, and religion out the window too. Anything that's going to stop the advancements of the species, because only by doing that are we going to be able to dig our way out of the issues that we're in, the loops environmentally and everything that we're in right now. Some things we can't change, but we can adapt, you know, to what's coming at us. But we got to put a lot of bad things aside right now. So I guess that's it.
It's hard to do when people are inundated with the news and
that's the
those
bad
kinds
thing.
of things that just,
you know, like
are constantly throwing it at you.
I think the best way to do that is, you know, the guy made the comment on, you know, get rid of your TV, you know, and choose and pick what you want to study. You know, you have the internet, you have your library downtown, you have this. You can go right on the internet and listen to 2 or 3 different news channels on a same subject and get a little bit of a different point of view there. You know, that's the better way to do it, you know. But he laughed at my reply. I said, well, you know, my wife and I were sitting there talking about that, and we do everything by satellite, blah, blah, blah. So you can be anywhere you want and still get your media, you know, if you want it. And for your research, but don't believe what they say. Look behind the scenes, read in between the lines. And I said, so I went over there and I grabbed our TV after we agreed upon it, because we can watch it, DVDs and everything else in our computers, and download movies, whatever we want to do. So the TV really isn't necessary anymore. So I took it out and threw it off my porch. You know, and we haven't had one since then. That's the best thing we could ever did. Grandkids, they have projects they do, learning ABCs and all this other stuff. You know, people really need to change your paradigm. It's very important. Humanity's on the apex right now, and they need to raise their consciousness. And I don't just mean their consciousness spiritually. I mean their technical consciousness, our technical understanding of what's going on, and things of this nature, and start really doing what we have to do to adapt to what's coming. Do it ahead of time. Hell with waiting until the last minute. That ain't going to do us any good. But humanity does like to do that. Wait till the last minute so the corporations can make their money and this and that. And then they'll go into the industries where they can make the money on the new technologies. It's just the way it works, you know. But man themselves, individuals out there in their local communities, like we have, go off the grid. Do your own thing. Get your sciences down, study technologies, because you're the only one that's going to do it. You know, until they come up with a free energy source out there, you're the one doing it. Get off the grid, start educating yourself in sciences, what it's going to take to create oxygen. They try to make you think hydrogen separators aren't the answer to the future or work. They freaking work. We've built them here and used them. They work great, you know, for cooking, also for increasing the mileage on your vehicle, less output. If you have a vehicle that runs on pure hydrogen, your output is water. You know, you burn the hydrogen, it separates them. You get oxygen and water. You know, so I mean that's produce water. That's good. That's a good thing. You know, that can't be bad. You know, especially
modern technology can be good if it's used properly.
Balanced. So,
it needs to be balanced. I agree.
Old-fashioned ways in modern technology, there is a perfect balance. Old-fashioned ways being think of things spiritually, think of things also logically. You got to balance your spirituality with logic and vice versa, because we get to one way or the other. You can go to left or right, and that's not good. You know, and that's very important right now. So, you know, we started the conversation talking about perception, interdepth, and time travel, teleportation, and the many different levels of perception. So that's important for people to understand. We cannot, those of us out there are bringing truths out and helping people understand the real realities, you know, and being able to see the whole picture realistically, you know, because you look at so many different things, you study so many different things in different areas that you're able to go, oh wow, I now see a connection here. And then everything starts to connect. And then you have a really big, it isn't, oh wow, it's a what the fuck moment.
Yeah,
you know?
an oh shit moment.
An oh shit moment when everything just becomes crystal clear. And then you don't really have to do your studies anymore. Everything's coming to you intuitively. Because you've got to that point. And you understand exactly what's going on. And, you know, that's pretty much where I'm at right now. And never worry about those people who are going to say this or say that, prove this or prove that, because you don't have to anymore. It's already happening, everything out there. You know, proof is in the pudding, is into what's going on out there. We have taken ourselves, we're on the apex of an extinction. We're in a 6th grade extinction right now. All scientists are admitting that finally, you know. And what's really weird is, you know as well as I do, we've been together 38, 39 years.
39.
Since the very beginning. I talked about this stuff, and I know you probably thought it like other people, oh, he's just crazy, you know, Every single one of them things have come true. With few exceptions, and I'm expecting them to happen within the next 20, 30 years. You know, yeah, we're in for some serious changes in people's paradigms.
And a lot of that's going to depend upon what happens if people are going back to other times.
Well, they have
changing something here and there for that to not happen.
Well, you know, you can only change things for so long, and then the society, unless they get the understanding of why the change needs to happen, they're going to do it again.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's the problem. You can go back and change something in a timeline, but then the people may think, well, that isn't going to happen, because these other things were predicted to happen within this time period, and they didn't.
It didn't, so it's not going to.
That's like deja vu. We were talking about deja vu in a good conversation one time. You know, deja vu is either a jump in time, you experience an event, and then you come back to this reality, and then you you're moving on in your life, and all of a sudden that event happens, and you experience and go, oh my God, it's a deja vu. You know, or is it that I was talking about the timelines, you know, like the Mandela effect, and they're like sine waves. You know, these timelines are in the same space, but they're just like on a radio. They're a frequency off.
Right.
You know, that's the best way to explain anything in time. You know, especially in time travel or paradoxes. So you turn around and you have these waves. They're like sine waves, and one is this timeline, one is the other, and something happens. There's a wave in time, shall we say. Or since they are different, eventually those sine waves, the trough and the peak of these timelines simultaneously exist there for a moment. And you're not witnessing something that happened in this time in the future. You're experiencing an event that took place in that alternative timeline.
Right.
Don't know that. You know, these are some of the things that we can say are possibilities. But if you have two timelines and they swoop and that high trough, I mean that low trough and that high peak of these sine waves, you know, overlap one another. They don't necessarily have to bump against because they're a frequency off, but they get so close to one another, maybe they just overlap. Like we talk about the Mandela effect, you know, Bernstein, Barnstein, whatever. But anyway, they overlap, and all of a sudden you glimpse, and it happens in your reality, okay, in your timeline, this alternative event. And everybody thinks it's something that happens in this timeline because they're experiencing it, but it's an overlap. So maybe it's a mixture of the two. That's a possibility. And you recognize it. The only way you would recognize it then again would be if you experience both timelines at different times. Well, maybe you did it simultaneously.
Yeah.
I can go deep on this stuff, but we'll go about there because anybody listening to this might start going, oh man, my brain is burning. You know.
Yeah, my brain is burning.
But you know, really, I have no experience in quantum physics or any of this type of stuff, but I know it. You know, you know, I have sat with PhDs, and they turned around and admitted, you know, there's nothing we can't talk about this with this individual, and he understands it, you know. And that goes right down to even me and Mark McCandlish talking, and he's looking at me, and he's making these things with his hands, you know, and he's talking, and I'm seeing this in my mind, and I'm watching his hands, and he finally understood, well, I'm watching what you're talking about. I'm seeing it in my mind's eye, you know. So when we're talking about extraterrestrial, you know, craft propulsion, you know, or reverse engineered technology propulsion, I understand it. There isn't an issue there. Where I gain that knowledge basically is obviously download somewhere.
Downloaded somehow,
you know? It's been there all my life. Even when I was young, I understood the sciences. I hated school. They were too slow, you know. And normal society didn't make any damn sense because they weren't progressing. They weren't progressing. When you see 2 or 3 newscasts in a 50-year difference and they're the same thing repeating, you know you're in a loop. You know, they're just changing the format a little bit. That's all. You know, so. Well, I guess that's, that, you know, it really get back to the beginning on perception. You know, you have a spiritual perception, you have your genetic perception of what's going on, your life-lived perceptions, you know, and then when you get a mix of things happen in your life, if you have extraterrestrial experiences, abductions, you know, then of course there's a whole other perception there. Your MyLab limited access programs, your experiences there, you're privy to technologies and things of this nature that the average person wouldn't never even believe exists, but it does. You know, but I tell those people out there, if you got naysayers and this and that, don't worry about them. Don't even pay no attention to them. They're not even on your level of understanding of what's going on. Right. You know, and you tell them, stop, do your research, then come back, and we can talk later. You know, don't waste your time with them. Right. It's a waste of time. If they don't go out and do the real research, it's a waste of time. And you just keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop. Ain't no reason to. You're already far beyond where they are anyway. You know, and it doesn't matter what their financial status is or their media situation. They're more than likely part of the media blitz anyway, so don't even stress it. But your perception, my friends, is all on what your experiences are. If you have had an abduction experience, seek out the truth in that, find out about it, see if you can recover some of the memories. There are many ways to do it. Sometimes a lot of them are going to come out just as you get older. You know, they're going to happen. But a lot of memories that you have, things that happen to you may not have covered memories, you know, of other things happening. You know, so you want to really pay close attention to your timeline, things that's happened in your life, because there's there's cues in there to this matrix of information and stuff that you're experiencing. And maybe you have a glitch in your timeline. If you do, then you need to look at that very closely, because that could mean something. And maybe why you're having these strange memories or experiences, or what you may deem as visions or dreams, could be actual experiences. You know, so that's my advice to everybody out there. And we're going to call this audio here Preception, I guess.
Sounds good.
Perception. What is your perception of reality?
Perception.
And then again, what is reality? You know, because reality has many different. It's like opening one of them, a drawer with a bunch of file folders in there.
Right.
It's all reality, but there's a lot of folders within that reality.
Exactly.
There are a lot of perceptions of that reality and offshoots of that reality. You know, so do your research, look at what's going on out there, and you'll see that the things I talk about all through this talk here, even about where our planet is going, is true. Do the science, do the research, and to hell with what mainstream is saying. Government science, now there's even some of them are starting to come out and say this is really happening. You know, these things. So you know, some of them are coming out from their code of silence, that we like to say it. And every time I say that, I think about the cone of silence and Get Smart, the old TV series. And start studying, start educating yourself, because the future has two realities, two possibilities, and we're heading like a freight train. One of them's heading right at us, and it isn't a good one. You know, so we need to take ourselves, educate ourselves, get away from all these prejudices and all these religious beliefs and everything, and look at everything as a species, come together and start advancing our technologies. And I mean fast. Better do it right now. You know, we don't have a 10-20 year period here to start seeing if a study is going to take place to make sure everything is going to be this way or that way. We're way beyond that now. Our environment and planetary systems are in some loops that are not going to stop, and that is a reality. And I talk about that in my book that is going to be coming out soon, real soon, Earth Time Chronicles. It's not a long book, but it's a book full of facts and the realities of the Earth and programs and what's going on with this situation right now. And I do touch a little bit on the breakaway civilization and the secret space program, and why, you know, they may be mankind's only hope for survival, unless mankind wises up and walks away from all these politicians and these religions that are, and racism that's biting and fighting, you know, pitting us against one another, and start working together to create a better society for all of us, because we got a massive population drop coming, and you're in not too far distant future, and you better be ready, because we're going to need the technology to survive. We already need them to survive. Okay, well, I guess that's about that. It's been a great Saturday. I've enjoyed it. And anything you want to say?
Nope. We'll see you next time.
See you next time in the next talk with William WhiteCrow. Have a good day, y'all.